Following the events of the previous episode, SG-1 steps through the gate and arrive at some sort of facility. They proceed to investigate the place and notice that it's basically deteriorating, despite the machines being made of obviously superior technology. TX says that he has never seen anything like this, which is when Captain Carter finds a computer terminal of sorts. She tries to activate it, but the only response is a very ominous electrical charging sound. Colonel O'Neill orders to retreat immediately, but unfortunately it seems the security system disagrees with that choice and knocks the team out cold. The members of SG-1 wake up in some sort of resting room, and they notice that they feel unusually great, considering that they've just been stunned. Then a door opens and a shadowy figure enters the room.
Come try ya!
The man is admitting to have attacked them and proceeds to call them wonderful specimen.
You in particular, female.
Colonel?
After explaining that he's happy that they survived while other people sometimes had heart attacks instead of falling unconscious. He introduces himself as Harlan, portrayed by Jay Brazeau, the last survivor of Altair. O'Neill asked for his equipment, but it has been destroyed because they were, dangerous. Daniel asks him how long he's been here, to which he replies that he's been here for 99 million hours, or roughly 11,000 years as noted by Jack. The rest of SG-1 is creeped out by O'Neill's sudden mathematic abilities, though Harlan laughs it off as the result of his improvements, a gift he gave to SG-1. Jack tries to get more specific details, but when the 11,000-year-old man is at a loss for words, O'Neill gives the order to retreat again. At the gate, Harlan stresses that neither he or SG-1 can leave as it isn't safe, and that he has simply too much to tell them. The team, however, ignores him and goes to Earth anyway. In the infirmary, Dr. Fraser checks up on the Colonel and is a little worried when she can't hear a heartbeat, so she decides to draw blood instead. What she gets, though, isn't blood, but something white. So wait, either Jack has been turned into Raiden 2.0, or Harlan had a little bit too much fun with the female specimen. Tiak panics, stating that his Goa'uld is gone, causing O'Neill to grab a knife, ram it into his arm, and rip it open without any hesitation. Instead of flesh, blood, and bones, he finds hydraulic machinery. When General Hammond arrives, Dr. Fraser brands the team as imposters and they're sent into the holding cells. The prisoners try to deal with the situation in their own ways. O'Neill gives everyone a reality check, reminding them that they are no longer human. Daniel just finds all of this very fascinating. Carter is split and Tiak is sulking. Hammond confronts them and tells them that he decided to send SG-5 to Altair as well, but before SG-1 can tell him that that's a big mistake, the team collapses. In response, the general immediately sends the team back to the planet. On Altair, SG-1 quickly regains their strength as they are welcomed by Harlan. O'Neill flips, pushes him against a wall and demands to be returned to his old body. To which the Altarian replies that this change is permanent. Jack really wants to kill him, but realizes that his death wouldn't do any good whatsoever. The team accompanies the old robot to a resting room before he is called away by the security system to fix a leak. Captain Carter notices that this entire facility is falling apart. Half of the equipment already stopped working and the rest is just spliced together. O'Neill leaves right afterwards to talk to Harlan to let off some steam, while Daniel and Sam argue about the philosophical issues of being in an artificial body. Tiak left them to get some peace of mind, but seems to be fighting with himself around the corner. The two scientists join up with a complaining robot and listen to Harlan's story. Once, the Altarians were biological, but when the planet's surface became too toxic due to radiation, they had no choice other than to transfer 1,000 people into artificial bodies. It went fine for a while, but over the centuries, more and more Altarians committed suicide, or they took some portable batteries and left through the gate, never to return. He cuts the story short when he asks for some extra hands to help him repair some stuff. Of course, repairing things like this will lead to problems, and the security system sounds a red alert. The ventilation shafts rusted closed, causing huge pressure to build up within the facility. Despite not wanting to do it at first, O'Neill gives the rest of SG-1 the order to help Harlan. Daniel easily takes care of his shaft, but Jack finds himself on the floor when his builder prematurely releases the hot steam. Then a silent robot Jafar comes around the corner, sees his friend on the floor, and decides to beat the living crap out of him. Jack's trying to defend himself, but Tiak is simply too strong. Said Jafar then picks up the beaten soldier, grabs his head and rams it into a high-pressure steam pipe. Of course, O'Neill passes out, and finally, Daniel and Sam decide to show up. But they arrive too late, as Harlan kills Tiak. The rest of SG-1 demands answers, but Harlan guarantees them that everything will be alright, and makes a run for it. Jack, still exhausted from fighting the robot Jafar, gives the order to keep an eye on the old creep. Jackson and Carter break into Harlan's laboratory, where they find him as he makes another Tiak. He explains that when he created the Jafar, there were two minds that couldn't coexist in a single entity, so he accidentally picked the Goa'uld as the personality template. Still refusing to answer the question of where the real bodies of SG-1 are, as Harlan can't make such an accurate duplicate without the original, O'Neill enters and pressures him, which is when Harlan admits that their original bodies do in fact still exist. Obviously, SG-1 wants to return to their old bodies, but Harlan assures them that that's impossible. He guides the team to a hidden room where SG-1 lies, unable to move. This means that there's no transference of minds and bodies going on at all. Harlan, O'Neill, Carter, and Jackson are all just copies of the originals. This hits Robot Jack the hardest as he realizes that his old life has just ended.
Harlan, where have you been?
Extremely busy.
I can see that. Doing what?
Oh, creating your synthetic others, saving the planet. Busy.
Synthetic.
Yes. I am sorry for having restrained you for so long. I am afraid my plan has failed rather miserably.
Was not a copy made of me.
Oh, yes. Yes. But I had to disintegrate you.
I see.
The Colonel goes to cheer Jack up, who quickly goes to accuse him of having stolen his life. Robot Jack isn't sure what he even is anymore, and states that he has just as much of a right to return to his old life as much as Colonel O'Neill. But in the end, he cannot even claim that much because he couldn't even leave the facility or the planet. Jack promises the Colonel that they will bury the gate, but only if he gets the assurance of the US military to not send a nuke to make sure. A little bit later, Harlan tells Jack that all will be fine as everything is as it should be. But the former Colonel responds saying that people aren't meant to live for so long. The episode ends as a fully completed Robot SG-1 team bids their farewells to SG-1, with Jack telling the Colonel to enjoy his life. And that was the 18th episode of the first season of Stargate SG-1. This is another great episode in the first season, not only because it's generally just really well made, but also because Stargate doesn't fall into the stereotypical sci-fi trap of evil robot version of the main characters. Instead, they are really just robot versions of the main characters, and somehow try to deal with the meaning of their new existence or lack thereof. Anyway, this episode is vitally important for setting up the finale of Season 4, and its plot thread will be resolved at the same time as the one introduced in Core I. With that in mind, I hope you had an enjoyable time watching, and I may see you next time when we enter the multi-part finale of the first season. Until then, have a good one.